I think we're live. Hi everyone. For those new here, my name's Nicki, and here on YouTube I post videos about reading, writing, editing, and all the other things I love, and it's the latter we're here for today. It's the end of the month, so it's time to share my TV and film. First off, a quick apology. I haven't done all my proper setup with the camera and mic today. Again, I'm just using the computer built-in ones, and I had my second Pfizer jab on Monday, and I'm still not quite 100% for it. So I wanted to do the stream still and get the content out on time, but I just couldn't face the effort of doing all the setup. So please bear with me. I'm just feeling a little bit flat still. I'm a bit tired and exhausted. So bear with me, but we will run through what I've been watching for the month. Let me just remove that banner out the way. There we go. Okay, so I've watched a few things this month, mainly on Netflix. There was only one item that wasn't Netflix, so I'm going to start with that one. And that is a Korean drama called Moon Lovers, which I watched here on YouTube. This is an historical drama, kind of a melodrama in many ways. Loosely based on history, but very, 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 very nomu loosely. It's essentially a young girl. There's a bit of a time travel element. Perhaps I should say as well, it's based on a Chinese novel, I believe, and there was a Chinese TV series as well. But in this Korean version, the young girl jumps into the water to save a drowning boy. And when she wakes up, she's been transported back in time to Goryeo era Korea, so pre-Chosun even. And she is the young daughter of a noble family who is a kind of companion to the wife of one of the princes. And as the story progresses, she becomes involved in the life of the various princes. There's quite a few of them. And in particular, the main character, played by Lee Jung-gi, who is a prince who's been separated from his family. His mother, I won't go into all the background, but his mother in the past scarred his face. So he's been living as a bit of an outcast slash hostage, I guess. And he's just returned to court. And in her modern day real life, she was a makeup expert. So naturally, she ends up helping him cover the scar and various things, and the story picks up from there. There's various romance elements, plots, against various people, assassinations and stuff going on. It's not the happiest show, I have to say. Like, most of the actually, spoiler alert, everyone. So I'm not going to spoil who dies, but I will just say that quite a lot of people die in this show. So don't get too attached to anyone if you watch it. It's not a sort of happy ending kind of show in many ways. So just be aware of that if you decide to give it a watch. I was sobbing quite a lot, particularly in sort of the latter third, I guess, of the series. There are things about it that annoyed me, but overall I enjoyed it. So if you're into historical drama, do check it out. So now moving on to Netflix, starting off with a Japanese anime first. I watched part 2 of season 5 of 7 Deadly Sins, Nanatsu no Taizai. I really enjoyed this series, the first couple of seasons. Then I believe they changed animation company and the animation quality really went down, and that's still bugging me. There's just some really crap angles for like the views of bodies and just stuff that looks wrong. It's just awful. So I really wish they would fix that or go back to their original company or something. But the story itself is still entertaining, but it's not gripping me as much as it was before. So I don't know if I really will continue to watch any further if this does continue into a season 6. I kind of feel like I've seen enough. Next up, then, Korean dramas. I suppose I should start with Squid Game, which, like most of the world, I did watch. Squid Game is really a mixed bag for me, and I think perhaps part of that's because it's been so hyped and everyone's watching it. And I didn't know everyone was watching it at the time I decided to watch it. I only found out kind of afterwards, and suddenly everyone was talking about it, because I watched it pretty soon after it went live on Netflix. I thought it was good. I think it was an interesting story idea. The cast all did a wonderful job. I had one or two questions at the end that weren't quite answered, and I kind of got a bit annoyed with the main character's decision at the end too, but I guess they wanted to leave it open for a second series. So it was good. It was an enjoyable, good Korean drama. However, it's not the best Korean drama out there by any means. There's way better ones. And yet it's become this huge thing that even people who don't watch Korean dramas usually are watching it. And my YouTube feed is like full of how to make your own dalgone and like videos talking about the background behind some of the games and things. So it's just Squid Games everywhere at the moment. There's even pop vinyls, I believe, now as well. So it was good. If you like Korean drama, you're certain to like it. Even if you don't like Korean drama, you probably, as most of the world's discovered, they've enjoyed it. But I think if you are looking for really great Korean dramas, there are better ones available on Netflix than Squid Game. So next up is one of those, actually, Awaken. So this is a series that is essentially a crime series. However, there is a supernatural element involved of these children who were experimented on and now have powers. It's a fairly dark show, but I quite liked the way it played out, and there were plenty of twists and turns along the way. Some of them I kind of half guessed, others were a surprise for me. And I thought it had a lot of emotional punch, as well as the sort of gripping drama of the sort of chase between these different characters. So if you think that sounds good, sort of crime mixed with supernatural experimented on children, and it was making me think of another series, and I can't remember what the series was called now. It's really bugging me. There was an American series about experimented on children as well. Something Angel in the title, but it'll come to me later once I finish this stream, I'm sure. But that kind of idea that the children were treated as lab rats as when they were young, and they now have, the ones that survived now have some powers. So moving on, the next one I watched was The Girl Who Sees Sense. So this is another Korean drama. And in this one, a girl, or a young woman, was involved in an accident. And when she woke up from the accident, she was able to see scent. So whenever there's any kind of scent in the air, she has this like visual representation of it. And when she woke up, the effect of this change is visible as like a color change in one of her eyes. One of her eyes looked weird, so she wears a sort of colored contact lens to disguise it. And she ends up teaming up with a police detective, and she's able to use her powers to help him solve crimes. Although eventually the reason she was injured and in a coma, I called it an accident at first, but actually it was more of a murder attempt. Her parents were killed, and then the killer went after her. And so that part of the storyline eventually ends up coming back as well, with them trying to find out who that killer was. So again, it's a bit of a sort of crime drama, but with a supernatural twist. Next up was a pretty standard romantic comedy Korean drama called Touch Your Heart. In this one, there's an actress who was involved in a scandal, and in fact a scandal that was not her fault. She was just manipulated by a baddie, and she's trying to desperately save her career, and she wants to be in this new drama series, but the director has told her she can only do it, she'd be playing the part of a lawyer. So the director's told her that if she goes and works in a law firm for 3 months, they'll let her have the role, despite her scandal. So that's what she does, and she ends up assigned to this sort of prickly lawyer who's a good guy, but just has no people skills at all, and doesn't treat people very well. But together they end up, as you might imagine from the fact that I said it's a rom-com, helping each other out. So, which involves unraveling her scandal as well. So again, there's a little bit of sort of crime mystery involved in this one, but no supernatural elements this time, and it's more of a straight rom-com with a bit of drama background. Going back to the supernatural though, I then watched the Uncanny Counter. So in this series, a group of people have been woken from comas by these kind of spiritual forces with whom they combine, they kind of link one spiritual force to one person, which gives that person powers, and their job is to fight evil spirits who are trying to possess people and commit murders and things like that. So this was quite an enjoyable series, to be honest. I thought it was quirky and fun. And there's some just amusing like little side points, like when anyone becomes a counter, which is what they're called once they link with one of the spirits, they their hair goes curly. So it's just completely random, but so all the counters have this sort of curly hair, which is quite funny, and it's a good sort of supernatural fantasy action drama, essentially. Quite emotional too at times. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, check that one out. And the very last piece that I need to talk about this month is a documentary that I watched on Netflix last night called The Raincoat Killer. This is a Korean documentary. I would say I watched the first episode of this, and then I was intending to watch the rest over the weekend and pause because there was a live stream Korean musical on YouTube that I wanted to watch. However, I only realised when I went to turn it on at the same time it was on last month that Korea obviously doesn't do daylight savings time. And I thought it was starting at 8:30 again, and it was not starting until 9:30. And in the end, I gave up on watching it because I'm just still so tired from the vaccination that I could push myself to stay up till 10:30, but there was no way I was going to be okay to watch it until 11:30. So I gave up on watching it, which was a bit sad because I really wanted to see it. But since I couldn't watch that, I just ploughed on and watched the final 2 episodes of the documentary before I went to bed instead. So this is a documentary about Yoo Young-chol, who is a Korean serial killer from the early 2000s. It was interesting, actually, because his case is so well known that it has been the basis, at least in part, for some of the serial killer drama series, which is what made me interested to watch it, because true crime is not usually my thing. But it was interesting in several ways. So it was interesting to sort of hear about that original crime or crime spree, and it was also interesting to see how incompetent the police were. To be honest, they were pretty useless, and I'm amazed they actually caught him in the end. But so many things they were doing in the investigation, I was just like, no. And in fact, the investigators were saying that this case, that all the things that went wrong in this case did lead to a lot of changes that then improved the system and made it a lot better for now. But it was interesting documentary in some ways. I quite liked looking at, as I said, how they did the investigation. You could kind of see where they got bits right and where they got bits wrong, and occasionally we heard what I assume must be a confession statement text from Yoo Young-chol talking about the crimes. I kind of would have liked to have heard a little bit more of that, perhaps a bit more as a reenactment drama mixed in with the documentary, perhaps. But the main thing that bugged me about this documentary was the fact it's called The Raincoat Killer, and yet at no point, I mean, unless I missed it somewhere, I blanked out for a second or two, but to my memory, at no point did they actually explain why he was called the Raincoat Killer. And I looked it up online this morning, actually, because I was interested. I was like, so why is it called the Raincoat Killer? Because we did see him going around in a yellow raincoat when the police were taking him to the different scenes to do reenactments and things like that. I was like, was he called the Raincoat Killer just because that's when the reporters saw him in a raincoat doing these reenactments? But when I've looked online, some sites about him, like Wikipedia, and that didn't even mention it at all. And some of the others that did suggested that he wore a raincoat while committing most of the crimes too. But like that was never mentioned in the documentary particularly. So I was like, you're going to call your documentary The Raincoat Killer, let's at least explain why he got that moniker. So there's a few things I would have liked to have seen different, perhaps make it a bit longer, expand here and there. But it was still interesting. Certainly still interesting to see how it was treated by the police, how they conducted the investigation, how they eventually got him. And most of the fact that they got him was down to luck of his confessions once he was captured, because they only had a little bit of evidence, really. So it's worth watching if you're interested in true crime. Do check it out on Netflix. So I think that brings me to the end of everything I've watched for October. I still have the Japanese movies I bought, which I think I mentioned last time, that I still haven't gotten around to watching, just because I've been watching Netflix stuff. I am going to try and slot them in and watch them during November. And I think Shang-Chi is coming out, the Marvel movie, on DVD, from what I've been able to ascertain, during November. So I will probably get that and watch that too. I think that's about it though. I'm watching a couple of animes at the moment. I've just started Comic Communicate and Blue Period. So I will be continuing with those. I think the number of episodes, it's probably going to be December, January before I'm doing the review, but I will eventually tell you what I think of those. And I'm also currently watching the K-drama Stranger. I finished season 1. So perhaps if I talk about season 1 quickly, it's a crime drama, procedural drama kind of thing that's based around the police and the prosecution service. And season 1 was okay. It's not one of my absolute favourite K-dramas, but I don't hate it. I found it enjoyable enough. And I'm just into season 2 now, which is the last season at the moment that's available. So I've only a couple of episodes into that. So although I didn't love season 1, I decided to carry on and see what season 2 is like. So I will tell you about season 2 next time. I will end there for now. I can hear my washing machine finish, actually. Perfect timing. So I'm going to go and hang my washing out, and then I will come back and I will do my book wrap up for the month as well. So I will see you all again in, I guess, sort of 15, 20 minutes or so. Bye for now, everyone.